Welcome everyone to the Reading Life 2015 conference training. Tonight we're going to cover the content for Take Care as a People, and this is the trainer for that breakout. My name is Michelle Cookie, and I am the Relay for Life curriculum designer for the American Cancer Society. And if you have any questions about this training or the content itself, please do not hesitate to email me and ask. This Train the Trainer this evening will give you an overview of the training from start to finish, but I also know that there might be some unique things that you're doing with your conferences, and you need to figure out how to make the content work for your specifics, and I am happy to help with that. So if you need help or have questions about how to tweak things or how to make it fit for you, again, please ask. I am here to help. So for those of you who have been on the Train the Trainer, the other Train the Trainers, some of this will be review, but we're going to go over the same logistical information and some tips for the facilitators. So the length of these breakouts are 75 minutes. It can be adjusted to 60 minutes, but activities and discussions may be limited. So if you're going to have a larger group in the breakout, we suggest keeping the length at 75 minutes to allow you to get through the entire piece of content. Also, this content is written to be discussion-based, so it's important that the facilitators that are going to be facilitating this content are comfortable facilitating conversations and discussions and know how to keep things on track and on time by the way they facilitate discussions, and that they are taking time through their facilitation to make sure that they are encouraging participation and discussion and questions and that sort of thing. We suggest that the rooms are set up in classroom style with tables and chairs. This just makes it easier for the participants to take notes and organize their things. But if that's not available to you, then rows of chairs is just fine. Just you're going to have to come up with a game plan ahead of time of how you're going to break people into groups for the activities and discussions. With tables, usually just break them up by their table, but with rows of chairs, you're going to have to be a little bit more creative and a little bit more specific in your directions. This content was written to be facilitated by 2 facilitators. If for some reason you're going to have more than 40 or 50 people in the breakout, we encourage a third person to be in the room as a room host to help with activity transitions and to keep time for facilitators. But all that is needed is 2 facilitators for each breakout. And this content was written for event leadership team leads, so your event lead, experience lead, people lead, and FundBecure lead. So prior to this session, facilitators will want to practice. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few slides. Create flip charts, organize flip charts, and decorate and set tables. We encourage you to use the guide to help you prepare. So on the screen you'll see a snapshot of your facilitator guide, and within the guide the first few pages are all for you as the facilitator to read through and to get familiar with. It lists all of the handouts in order. It lists the materials that are going to be needed, so if you're going to need specific things like sticky notes or sticky dots or that kind of thing. All of that information is listed in your facilitator guide. So please make sure that you are using the guide to help you prepare logistically for the breakout. So a couple notes for facilitators. As mentioned before, these sessions are designed for volunteer leadership. And if possible, these breakouts should be facilitated by skilled volunteer facilitators. It's always more powerful and bigger impact when volunteer-to-volunteer facilitation can take place. If for some reason that's not possible, a good idea would be to have one staff and one volunteer. A couple other things to note to kind of help your facilitators. It's easy for facilitators to use examples from your own relays because that's what we know and what we are comfortable with and what we're proud of. This can though be intimidating and distracting for the learner. So even if you're going to use a personal story, try masking it by saying, I've seen X done at Relay before, or I've heard of a relay doing this or that. And this will still allow you to share ideas and personal experiences, but not attribute them to you or to your relay. And we do encourage you to plug in as many personal examples from relays within your division and within your area, and you can even acknowledge those relays, as long as it's not, all the examples aren't just coming from your own. Another note is that sometimes we don't realize how we look when we're facilitating, so it's a good idea to practice out loud in front of a mirror. You may be surprised at how over-animated you are, or how maybe your concentrating or teaching face maybe will look more like an angry face, and we want to make sure that we are getting the content across and that the learners are not distracted by something small like too many hand gestures. So we encourage you, or if you're helping your facilitators, we encourage all facilitators to practice out loud in front of a mirror. We also encourage facilitator partners to make sure that they've run through their content at least 2 times over the phone and at least once in person before they facilitate. We realize that facilitators, for logistical reasons, can't always practice together before maybe the day of or the day before. So over the phone, practicing and running through the content together is really helpful. So encourage that with your facilitators. Also make sure that the facilitators run through the content with flip charts so that they can get used to transitions. Feel free to post the flip charts around the room. This will make it easier for the facilitator to walk around the room and point out key points, and it keeps things moving and it keeps them from standing still in one place. It also helps with decorating the room when you have flip charts posted around. So if you don't want something to be seen right when they walk in, you can tape up the bottom and that sort of thing. But it's a good idea to keep flip charts posted around the room and to practice with them posted around the room before they facilitate. Okay, so let's move on. So on the screen, this is an example of a facilitator guide layout. So hopefully most of you are familiar with this, but if not, I just want to take a few seconds to explain that this guide is broken down into rows and columns, and each row is a separate piece of content. So the columns have specific meanings. So the first one is the time that it takes for that section to be completed. The second is any materials, handouts, or flip charts needed for that specific section. And the largest column is the speaker's notes, and it's broken down into ask, say, and do headings. So the say portion is the teaching or facilitation content, and the ask is when the facilitators will be asking a question and encouraging participation. And the do is the activities that are taking place. And we also have gray boxes that will say facilitator note underneath the do or the activity section that give a little bit more explanation into the activity or some things that the facilitators need to keep in mind. So now that we have covered the logistical stuff, let's move on and cover the content. So as participants enter the room, we encourage that you have music playing and keep the energy high. It's important that we're remembering that this conference is a chance for our participants to get a glimpse into the relay experience and to set the tone for the entire 2015 relay season. So everything that we do at the conference needs to have that exciting relay feel. So as participants are walking into breakouts, we encourage greeters, noisemakers, fun decorations to really get them excited, and this will also help increase participation throughout the breakout. So in the you will want to confirm that they are in the right place by letting know what breakout it is, and if anyone is not in the right room, direct them to the correct breakout room. Introduce yourself, and here we don't want to give our entire volunteer or staff resume, but just tell them what relay that you belong to, what your role, what role you play with the relay, and how long you've been volunteering with the American Cancer Society and Relay for Life. And then you'll cover the agenda, and once the agenda is covered, and also you'll explain a parking lot or Ask It basket. And once those two things are covered, then you are on your way. So the first section is meeting the needs of our teams. So in this section we cover the importance of taking care of our top teams, and it's important to let participants know that this is true for all teams. But in some parts in this section we'll be covering, we'll be mentioning and using the language around just top teams, but this can be applied to all of them. The activity for this section is a discussion about practical application of the 5 needs of every relay team. So facilitators will have a chunk of say where they will teach about the 5 needs of every relay team, and then they'll move into the activity where there'll be a handout that has discussion questions, and have each table or groups that you split up with the row chairs answer these questions about their teams and their top teams, or their top teams. So after they spend about 10 minutes in discussion, ask a few groups to share back, and it's important to want the time and to help monitor any lost share backs. So the best idea is to share. Another way to go about this activity is to have facilitators walk around, and if they hear areas, ask those specific individuals to share this to have each group share. And then we're going to start into great ideas of participants, we can automate textures of the charts and get the ideas out of them. So that is the first section. So let's move on to the next section. And section focuses just on hockey, an example of just covered the 5 needs of the team. The first part of this section covers a special way for teams to look at our top teams and making being a top team something team to achieve, like a badge of honor. It needs to be, your team needs to be something that is talked about and greatly recognized often, and we can make top teams known by giving them permission every chance that we get. So after this, the activity is the gallery walk activity. It is for 3 groups, all walking through the same exercise. So if this makes more sense for your group to suggest a 2 groups, that's okay. For groups larger than 20, we suggest making it 3 groups. If it needs to be 4 groups, that's okay too. So the idea is, you'll see it on the screen, the idea is that each person in the group will walk to the flip chart and answer questions. These questions are focused on how to do communication. So how can we communicate with our top teams, and how can we communicate that top teams to others, how we recognize them and motivate them. The next flip chart focuses on special activities, how you recognize top teams by having special recognition or ways to honor them. share back with you the best ideas of the start, or they can ask groups to share one idea for teachers, depending on the time and depending on what you have in the group. So after the activity, each participant will complete the action plan guide for this section. Usually this is done at the end of each section, but we wanted for this breakout to be completed in the middle of the session by the information is still fresh from the activity. So after I do and then do the action planning, we are going to move in to covering just a few key points to wrap up this section. And a couple of things to note is that there's not an ambassador at IQ. So this really knows that it says that there is one, but there is information about the ambassadors in the handout, and that's the handout that you're going to want to use. And we want to focus on the safe portion in the session to have your participants look over the training and the ambassador calls and the schedule that's coming so they're familiar with when those calls are offered. And we can encourage our needs if they want to join with ambassador calls, they're welcome to join as well as a solution and to kind of get a better understanding of what the goals of their ambassadors and how the program works. And then we also have an ambassador implementation guide that they can go through with their staff partner. So we want to make sure that we mention the ambassador implementation guide and also that's out just the document that's something they can request to walk through with their staff partner. All right, so moving on to the section. This section is about recognizing our survivors, and the key points here that we want to make sure that we hit on recognizing our survivors on a consistent basis, creating a survivor recognition plan, and the activity will focus on survivor recognition brainstorming. So the activity in this section will focus on what they are currently doing to recognize their survivors and what they can do differently this year to enhance and make it better. So the point to drive home in this activity is that something we want them to be doing with their leadership team or company is to want them to be creating survivor recognition plan so that when the season really kicks off, they already have a calendar plan of how they're going to recognize the survivors and when that's going to take place. So things like Christmas time or Christmas cards or the special Christmas survivor activity. The new year will kick off the new year with a survivor activity or Facebook email or phone call or whatever it is. They have that plan already in place. So they notice they will finish it. So they start getting their brain wrapped around the idea and start brainstorming ideas in groups or pairs. So that's what this activity is about, and they're thinking out. And then the last part of the section is completing the last portion of the action planning guide. So after you're done completing the action planning guide, they will move on to the last section that will cover next steps. And in this section, this is where you'll want to cover the Ask It basket or parking lot if you have time. If you don't have time to cover the things that were put on the parking lot, if any, make sure that they're followed up with their staff partner at a later time. And then you'll also want to give any housekeeping directions, like where they go next, if they have a break or if they head back to general session, how long their break is, and those sort of things so that they can leave the room prepared. And once again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email me and ask. If you have any questions that are not about the content, please get in touch with Carrie Anderson, and she will point you in the right direction.